There's a stupid question going around this weekend, my friends, which is, have AEW and I suppose sometimes WWE gone too far and should we cancel them off the planet? The answer is no. Now I am coming to you live from my Canadian hotel room, and there is a link down there for Alpha One Wrestling where you can watch my match with Shane Saber from last night. I'm not wanting to spoil anything, but for the rest of the show I'm also on commentary. But yes, when I got back to my social media, there was even a petition that after All Out on Saturday night and the unsanctioned match, that AEW's gone too far, it's absolutely terrible, wrestling's in the gutter, and we may cancel it forever. Now I think it's one of the most stupid things I have heard in a long old time. The first thing that popped into my brain was the necrophilia stuff that WWE did back in 2002 with Katie Vick. That kind of stuff offends me way more than hardcore crazy violence. Now, was that cage match for me? Absolutely not. If all of wrestling was like that, would I watch it all the time? No. I would find something else to do. But when it comes to something like what WWE did back in the day, that to me was just like, who is this for? I do not get it. Whereas when you jump forward to the all-out cage match, I'm like, okay, well, I understand why we did get here. It's a blood feud and it was unsanctioned. And one thing that AEW has definitely brought back when it comes to these stipulations is, if that's what they say they're going to do, they are going to do it. Cage match, brutal. Street match, brutal. You're going to get weapons. You're going to get thumbtacks. It's going to go totally nuts. And I want to make it very clear, I understand that is a old WWE regime. We would never do it now. And I love WWE. I love AEW. I think all the shows right now are on fire, but I'm just trying to give you some context about the things that I don't want to watch in wrestling and things that I personally don't want to see all the time, but I understand why they exist. But I think more importantly than all of it, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand, and I'm an idiot for making this video, a lot of this outrage is completely made up, and it's completely fake, and it just ties to this stupid tribalistic world where you're like, oh my gosh, we're going back to the dark ages, which actually isn't necessarily a bad thing if you think about it, because I love the way that WWE presents, we'll use their word, sports and entertainment. I think it's wonderful, it's over the top, and sometimes it kind of does make you feel you're in a magical land, whereas AEW almost has gone the other direction. It's gritty and it's dark and it's dirty, and yes, sometimes people are going to stick syringes in other people's mouths, but I think you want these alternatives, like you absolutely do. If AEW felt like WWE, why the hell am I going to watch it to begin with? I want Dynamite to feel different from Raw and SmackDown and Rampage and Collision and Ring of Honor and New Japan or Impact or whatever it may be. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like a giant waste of time. Now, again, I'll open with you, focusing on that match. Do I ever want to see a man get syringed in the mouth again with a needle? No, I do not. Although actually, it's probably the safest thing that they did in the match. I'm sure you've had dental work done when someone has stuck a needle in your mouth. They're so sharp, so it doesn't hurt. The big question I have is, did Hangman Adam Page put something in this needle? Did he drug Swerve Strickland? These are the information I'm going to have to be told on Wednesday. But it was the chair shot, and it was the cinder block that really got me. Now, in terms of the cinder block, I think it ties into what I've always said about wrestling, and I always use it to try and describe goofy wrestling for life, but I think it has to have the same nuts and bolts when you go to the other extreme, and that is wrestling should always be about two people getting into a room with whoever the promoter is, and if they all agree this is what they want to do, they should be allowed to go out there and do it. Now, if it's too dangerous or it's too silly and we're getting away from the seriousness of the product, then sure, somebody should step in, but I'm not really sure what else Swerve and Hangman could have done in this situation, which brings us to the chair shot. Now, interestingly, the chair shot they show on the broadcast is not as bad as the one that is doing the rounds on social media. That is unbelievable. Now, I'm sure they shaved the chair, and I'm sure it was gimmick, and I'm sure they took precautions, but it was still pretty damn devastating. Now, I don't want to get too much into that conversation because I think it's a different video for a different day, but we do understand CTE and we do understand concussions. But the reason I think it's difficult to talk about is because I don't know what they did before this, right? I don't know what they did to that chair. I don't know whether somebody had come in and said, actually, it's super duper safe. You have veterans saying that we shouldn't do this. You have other people saying, oh yeah, we have to bring the stuff back. And listen, whatever your opinion is the correct opinion. You are totally allowed it, and you should stand by it, and you should vocalize it as much as possible. But if we get to the point where we're saying, oh, it should be the end of AEW, and they're ruining professional wrestling, that's when I want to throw you out the window. One, because I know you're being disingenuous, but also two, that's crap. We want wrestling to exist within the realms of all entertainment. So there should be movies, and there should be books, and there should be pieces of music that do challenge you in that way, where you have to sit there and go, well, I didn't really like this. This made me feel awkward in my tum-tum, and what can I do with this? Now, there's still a line. I want to make it very clear. I'm an advocate of freedom of speech, but also I'm an advocate of the consequences of what you say. If I start threatening your family or saying terrible things about you on social media, for example, you should absolutely also be allowed to go to the police and say, watch this guy, he may be crazy because you don't know what I'm going to do. But again, that is the extreme. We are moving into the murky side of the world. This was two people in a, I hate using these words, but it's true, a predetermined setting who have decided to try and get the required reaction from the crowd. We think we need to do this. They sat down, they discussed it, and they got a couple of thumbs up. And you can't argue it didn't work. After Hangman had won and he was walking up the ramp and he acted like he was going to come back down to the ring, the people gasped. They're like, oh no, please don't inflict any more violence. We've seen too much. That is the kind of emotion we put in people. And I understand it's totally different once again. I'm such a fan of emotion in wrestling. Go back to WrestleMania 30, Undertaker being defeated. People couldn't believe it. I think when you can interact with an audience like that, you're onto something, especially because after this, again, you can see the clips everywhere. Page was going to go down the babyface tunnel and he changed his mind and he walked down the heel tunnel because he's like, I'm too far gone. There's nothing I can do now. And it was almost like he was going back to the ring because he was worried that he had turned into a nuts person. If Hangman Adam Page is watching this, which he is not, you are. Yes, you're totally crazy, and there may be no going back, although he did try and steal his kid, so you burnt down his house. I understand. Escalation is key. The Dark Knight taught me that with the Joker. But would you even be able to achieve these things without going to the lengths that I did? Again, I don't want to see people stapling pictures of their family onto people's faces. That is not to my taste, but there was something compelling about it, and I'm sure I've watched movies. I can't think of an example right now where I'm sat there going, this is making me uncomfortable. But that is the point. We're going to get well hoity-toity here, so forgive me. That is the point of the art. The art has been created to make you feel uncomfortable. So when we got to an unsanctioned match that may be the last war between these two, and apparently it's written Swerve Strickland off TV for a while, then maybe you need to go to these lengths in order for you to understand the story going forward. Now, if we do another one of these on Wednesday, I will be a bit like, man, you just got to turn the dial down. But individually, you have to vote with your hands and you have to vote with your remote controls. If you didn't like this, you should stop watching AEW. More power to you. I support you every step of the way. I'm not going to do that, not in a million years. But trying to all of a sudden turn it into this big army, this big attack where you all have to go, oh, I'm going to sign a petition, I'm not going to do this anymore. I think that's stupid, and I think it's a waste of time, and I think it's the discourse that needs to go out of the window. People should be able to present a product to you, and you should be able to completely throw it out the window because you're not interested, and other people should be able to enjoy it. Of course, the health and safety of the performers should always be first and foremost, so there is another little bit of a chat to be had here. But I remember, and this is why I wanted to mention WWE, this did happen. Again, it's a select few, and they're absolute numpties, they're absolute morons. But when The Rock dropped the F word on Raw, which I was there for live, by the way, it's brilliant. They were like, oh, I can't believe you said the F word, this is unbelievable. Like, how dull do you want wrestling to be? It's like when Swerve's house did get burnt down. People are like, this is so stupid. Yeah, it's stupid. Sometimes I want my wrestling to be stupid. Stupid can be fun. I don't understand why we want to kick this out of the mad world of professional wrestling. So you can't do this all the time because you will sanitize it and it won't mean as much. The same with anything. If all of a sudden The Rock started saying the F word all the time, like, well, The Rock always says the F word. And I think he's smarter than that. And I think AEW is smarter than that too. But I get a little bit confused too as we just do a massive 180 here. People then go, oh, AEW's not going to get advertisers, it's going to affect the pay-per-view, it's going to affect the ratings. Are you actually watching professional wrestling for business reasons? If you are, cool. But I don't want to be on my deathbed going, oh, I can't believe AEW never got back to a .33 and I died when they were on a .19. That's not what I watch wrestling for. I watch wrestling for stories and performances and athletics, and who else knows what comes along with it. I just want to be entertained. I just want it to make me laugh, and I just want to have a good time. So if I enjoyed a show and it tanks in the ratings, I still enjoyed it. If I enjoyed a pay-per-view and someone tries to kill someone, if I enjoy it, good. If AEW never gets another advertiser again, I don't care, as long as I get an entertainment factor out of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I want all the companies to do well. I'll list them again. WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, TNA, whatever, New Japan. I want them all to make a bunch of money, and I want the wrestlers to make even more money. But I am never going to worry about financial reasons when I sit down there and use moments of my life to try and get some enjoyment out of something. And once more, if you want to do that, cool. I think you've gone crazy, and I think you need to look in the mirror. Advertising rate should have nothing to do with you unless you're working in that company. If you are and you're watching my video, I like you as well. That's a super nice thing of you to do. So there is a lot of disingenuous people out there in this WWE versus AEW tribalistic war continues. But I never want to put handcuffs on the product of what we can do unless we are talking about some storyline stuff. And the only reason I go back to WWE is because they've been doing it. They've been going the longest, or they've been the brightest star for the longest. And yeah, stuff like Triple H in 2002, the Kurt Angle, Booker T stuff, oh my gosh, that was just way too much for me. And the other tidbits I don't want to get into now, especially because, again, just to reiterate, that was old management, and new management I think is putting on some of the best WWE that I've seen in probably 2 decades. I really do think it's that good, and even Raw at 3 hours is a wonderful watch. You know, they've kind of proven that you can have 180-minute wrestling if you can fill it with interesting stories and compelling characters. I mean, there was a shock entity to what we did in the cage, but it was also justified. Like if you actually sat down and explained it to someone once more, it may not be their cup of tea, but they'd be able to put two and two together and they wouldn't get potato. But I think that wrestling needs to push these boundaries, again, like movies do too. I've watched movies I haven't liked, okay, well now I need to search my feelings and try and figure out why that is. But imagine it did get cancelled too. Can you imagine how stupid that would be? And what a stupid world that we would be living in. It wasn't even that bad. If you've been on the internet, if you want to see some worse stuff, you can go online right now. And also, we need these things to breathe, and we need these things to play out, and we can look back in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and decide whether it was a good idea. But if it means that Domino's I'm going to advertise with AEW, you know what? I'm still going to sleep okay. So there was a dumb rant for Monday, but I appreciate you as always. And please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I know I'm totally wrong. And click that video too. It's another video for you. Also, once more, there is an Alpha 1 wrestling show down there for you with me on commentary and doing a match. Please do watch it and support because it's free, won't cost you a penny. Otherwise, it's grillermind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon, get 10% off. I'm using some of their sachets out here right now because they fit in my bag, my favorite supplements. A Go-Go Fitness is code Simon20. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on all social media. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon on Cameo. Did loads of those out here as I have my own friendship group. Weird thing to say. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller if you would like a t-shirt. Otherwise, my friends, you take care. I'll see you throughout the week. All the best.